What if I told you there's a new bill in Congress that could protect American auto jobs, force automakers like Stellantis to keep production here in the United States, eliminate California's overreaching emissions rules, and make the playing field more fair for everyone across the country?
Look, here's the facts. We didn't ask for the rules to change. We didn't want them to change, but they did.
Well, there is a bill that actually exists. It's called the Transportation Freedom Act, and today we're going to break down why this bill matters, not just for automakers, but for auto workers like the UAW, car buyers like you and me, and how this could shape the future of the American automotive industry. Now let's start with something that should get the attention of the UAW, because you guys will want to get this bill passed, because all the BS that Stellantis put y'all through would be over. First, this bill would reward automakers who build in the US by giving them a massive 200% tax deduction on the wages that they pay to factory workers, but only if they meet certain American-made standards. We're talking about companies that will build at least 75% of their vehicles, engines, and batteries here in the United States, and that they don't ship jobs overseas, period. If you're a car company that refuses to offshore production, continues to support American workers with good health care and pensions for current and retirees, this bill gives automakers a huge financial incentive to keep doing the right thing and keeping Americans building American products. That's why the UAW should support this bill. It directly aligns with the UAW's mission to protect jobs, raise wages, and hold automakers accountable for outsourcing. This isn't just talk. It's basically written into the bill's language. The weather's warming up, which means it is time to bring your favorite ride out of hibernation. And what better way to kick off the season than by saving up to 15% off on the top aftermarket accessories for your muscle car, pony car, truck, or SUV. My friends at Just Bolt-Ons and DragRacingWheels.com have you covered. Use my promo code BUTTER at checkout, and if you need some sticky Mickeys, you got till March 31st to save up to $100 on a set of tires. So don't wait, hit up my friends at Just Bolt-Ons and DragRacingWheels.com, where the best deals online just got even better. Stellantis, for example, will have to bring more product here to the United States. They will have to pack their plants with more product, and they can't even try to do little sneaky little ways of getting out of doing this by doing joint ventures, because even though it's joint ventures, still have to make 75% of the products here in America. And plus, on the next UAW contract that they're going to sign in the next 3 or 4 years, the UAW could potentially get even more money for every employee in that next contract, because the automakers are still going to get that 200% tax deduction for anyone in the United States that engages in the production of automobiles or the components with wages up to $150,000 per employee. Now, I'm pretty sure in the UAW contract that I read that in 2027, some employees could potentially make up to $85,000 a year on hourly wages. So imagine on the next contract, you can push for even more wages, and Stellantis can't cry that, you know, you're raising the rates and the prices that they're paying is going to basically affect their bottom line, because they're basically going to get a 200% deduction on that higher wage. I'm just saying, there's a lot of ammunition that the UAW can use against Stellantis, Ford, GM, and whoever in the US if they support this bill. And speaking of Stellantis, recently we all know that they struggle, and they also just got downgraded by the S&P, partially because of poor North American performance, and they also got poor financial outlook. So if you wonder why this is going on, it's because their former CEO, he went way too hard trying to cater to emissions regulations.
To begin this cornerstone event, I'm going to call on stage a man who has lived and breathed cars for more than 40 years, and he has a mission to make them safe, sustainable, and affordable for every citizen on Earth now and for generations to come. Please welcome the CEO of Stellantis, Carlos Tavares.
The purpose of today's session is to demonstrate to you that Stellantis is now in full execution mode, at full speed on its electrification journey.
Now, the Clean Air Act allows California's CARB, which is the California Air Resources Board, to set its own stricter rules and regulations. And when California passes new regulations, 17 other states have chosen to follow their lead. Now, this has become a particular big nightmare for automakers, because Stellantis and Ford and GM and others, they have to either meet those stricter regulations and rules, or go off and buy expensive emissions credits that cost them millions of dollars. It jacks up vehicle prices and it kills profitability on cars like the Charger, the Challengers, and the TRX trucks. It's part of the reason why Stellantis had to kill off the Hemi.
We didn't ask for the rules to change. We didn't want them to change, but they did.
And why performance vehicles are becoming so rare. Because I mean, if you look at it in the market right now, the Corvette is the only performance car in all of General Motors. The final horsepower is the best that Ford can do in a Mustang. And this bill eliminates those problems that those automakers are facing.
Really forces you to self-regulate. It forces you to make the tough calls. And we literally adjust our plans on a monthly basis based on where we see the trajectory of compliance. Knowing that we're going into this environment has forced us into a space where we had to develop a whole new powertrain strategy. We wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for those regulations. So it's super tough, but the CEO, he burned our boats, and we're forced to make the tough calls to make sure that we're on a trajectory towards the long-term compliance. No one knows what's going to happen, with the regulatory environment if there's a change in administration. So
it revokes California's special waiver under the Clean Air Act. No more states creating their own patchwork of emissions laws or trying to follow California standard. This bill forces everyone to follow one federal standard across all 50 states. That means lower compliance costs, simpler rules, and more flexibility to offer performance cars, again, without being punished for it. This bill also does something very smart. It repeals the current CAFE and emissions rules for 2027 all the way to 2035. Now, why is that important? Because the current rules are completely unrealistic. They assume that they're going to have mass EV adoption or try to force mass EV adoption, even though the EV demand is already slowing down. Many automakers like Ford, GM, Stellantis have cut back on the EV investments because they are losing billions upon billions upon billions of dollars every single year, and the demand for EVs just is not there. The Transportation Freedom Act would require the EPA and the DOT to come back to the table and create new emissions and fuel economy standards that are technologically feasible, economically practical, so no more of this nonsense of finding companies like FCA previously for the 5.7 Hemi, the 392 Hemi, the 6.2 liter supercharged Hemi V8 engine that is oh so well. Oh my goodness. No more of that nonsense trying to charge them all this extra money for giving me the option of picking what vehicle that I want. It'll base brand new CAFE and emissions rules on real industry feedback. And they'll be basically reevaluated every 2 years based on automaker progress. Now, this is a very common sense approach compared to going to a bunch of tree huggers in CARB trying to tell businesses how to actually keep up with automotive standards. If the industry can't meet these targets, then why keep pushing them? The Transportation Freedom Act also ends the tyranny of one state setting the policy for the whole country. Carbon emissions rules are made in a state that only houses 12% of the US population. That's certainly not a democracy, and it's certainly not fair because I cannot vote for the governor of California who appoints members to the board of CARB, or I can vote for anybody in the California Senate who confirms the governor's picks. Under this bill, only the federal government would set emission standards by people we all have a chance to vote for. That means states like Texas, Michigan, Florida, and my state of North Carolina, places that still want gasoline trucks and muscle cars, won't be held hostage by California's extreme regulations. If you want to buy an EV, go buy one. If you want me to go buy an EV, I got an option to do so. Or I can just enjoy my 1,025 horsepower Demon 170 in peace if I had to worry about y'all. Well, there's nothing in here for me to drink, but you get the point. This bill keeps our prices lower. It also keeps vehicle choices broader. So if I want to go to EV, I can get one if I want to, because I actually like the Hummer EV, but I wish it was just cheaper. But it also helps working class Americans who can't afford $70,000 EVs just to get to work. Because I mean, if you go look at it, most prices of EVs is over 60, 70 grand, especially ones from Stellantis. So I'm just saying. But just to sum this whole video up, the Transportation Freedom Act protects American auto jobs, It rewards companies that manufacture in the USA. It also repeals California's ability to set nationwide emission rules. It gives one national standard that is actually based in reality. And it makes emission rules reviewable and flexible for the long term. If you care about keeping jobs here in America, if you want affordable gas-powered cars to stay available, and if you're tired of California politicians controlling what you drive, this is the bill to watch and this is the bill to push for. The UAW as well should be pushing for this bill. The workers of the UAW should be supporting this. And you, if you're a car buyer enthusiast or someone who just wants more choices of what you can drive, you should keep your eye on this one too. Now, this is a very important bill that could change the auto industry as we know it for a very long time and bring back the good old days that we're all used to. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Should California keep the power to set the emissions rules for the rest of us? Is it fair for Stellantis to be punished, for example, for building muscle cars and trucks that customers wanted? Or is it time for one national standard that put the needs of all Americans first? You want a V8 muscle car, you want a V10 Lamborghini, you want a Prius, have at it. You want a Camaro to come back? We should have that option. Go call your local congressman or woman and tell them that you support the Transportation Freedom Act. And until the next time, I got another important bill to tell you about in another video.